those were things that I knew about. I've always known about that. Those were the obvious ones. Here is where literally has gotten me in trouble for my entire life, and I did not understand at all that I was missing a huge, huge factor in all of this. Hi, I'm Kate, and welcome to Always Tuck and Roll. We discuss life, the universe, and everything through the lens of autism because autistic. Sort of how I view everything, realistically. So, hi. I was not here last week because I mentally couldn't be. There were too many changes, too many activities, too many events, and just not enough actual physical time and zero quiet to get anything done. And also, I just didn't have the mental capacity to do it all. At this point, I have now been alone for a week because Pete's on a business trip. He'll be back, in at 2 a.m. So, I missed Pete, but I also really liked being alone. I'll be perfectly honest. It has been so nice to only have mostly my own noises and needs to deal with, though I do have a lot of neighbors and they are very not quiet. But still, not having to have any real direct communication was a nice little vacay for my brain. Again, would prefer Pete to be here as opposed to not, but it's also nice to just completely disconnect from the world. It's wonderful. Anyway. Wow, I have hair things happening here that I don't usually notice, but yeah, looks like, you know, I don't care as much as I should, so we're just gonna go with alright, I cannot be bothered to care as much as I feel like I probably should. Appearance is probably more important than I give it credence, but this is what I look like. I'm good with that. Anyway, what I wanted to talk about this week was the problem with being too literal as it relates to, autism, naturally. Because it is a stereotype that we take things too literally, and I think that everyone at times takes things maybe a little too literally, but at the same time, it is definitely an autistic problem. And I know that I will be so sure that I know exactly what's going on and that I haven't missed anything important, but I am missing the most obvious thing. Sometimes the obvious thing that I'm missing is that the question I am answering was never meant to be answered. And boy, is it fun to watch people want to death stare you straight through your face because you're answering a question they never meant to actually have answered. But why are we asking questions we don't want answers to? No one has ever been able to answer that question, let's be honest here. I'm serious. Tell me why people ask questions they don't want the answers to. I would love your take on this because it doesn't make sense. And I get the whole how's it going? But not wanting a real answer greeting method is really an American problem. Don't understand it. In fact, if you ask me how I am, I will tell you. So maybe don't ask dumb questions you don't want the answers to, especially to me, because I will tell you. And I'll probably make you heckin' uncomfortable because what I think is oversharing and what isn't does not really align with society a lot of the time, but that's okay. We all have our things. But so, literally. And people do not assume that I am taking things too literally, and then they get mad at me for misunderstanding. Because no one likes to give anyone the benefit of the doubt. In fact, it is a very common story amongst, especially late diagnosed level 1 autistics, that people suddenly turn on you when they find out that you are in fact autistic because, like, you're no longer quirky, you are broken and a consistent problem that must be removed. You must be handled. You must be fixed. And none of those things are true, for the record. Just a weird stigma. But so, it's frustrating. Like I am good at sarcasm. I will miss your sarcasm like 20% of the time. If you make it blatant, sure, I'll get it. Like, I love satire. Mel Brooks is my favorite director. I prefer his movies to, like, films because I know we're joking. I know we're kidding. I love references and wordplay. Entertain me. I get really, really annoyed by movies that take themselves seriously because, like, that's not how people act. Why are we doing that? So I prefer satire because we're all on the same page over what's happening. I think it's great. Satires and documentaries. Those are my jams. Anyway, see if I've derailed myself away from what I wanted to say. In the realm of sarcasm, yeah, I am a super, super sarcastic person. It's actually easier for me to just do that as opposed to, I don't know, communicating on a normal plane. Not everyone gets my sarcasm, but that's okay because not everyone gets sarcasm anyway. But I miss other people's. And I totally miss when people are really, really good at deadpan. Like, Pete and I have matching values. It's one of the reasons our relationship works so well. However, he is really good at deadpan and very good at devil's advocating. So occasionally, especially if I'm really tired or the thought experiment has gone off the rails, I have to stop him and have him tell me he's kidding. Because even though I know he's kidding, I'm using so much of my brain power reminding me that he is in fact kidding that I can no longer participate in the experiment without getting upset. And he's always very good at stopping immediately. So, humor and communication. Huge, huge factors when it comes to, the literal factor in autism. However, well, I don't know why I said however. I think additionally, or also, is where I was headed with, because those were things that I knew about. I've always known about that. Those were the obvious ones. Here is where literally has gotten me in trouble for my entire life, and I did not understand at all that I was missing a huge, huge factor in all of this. Ready? It's the pain scale. For someone who has had as many concussions, separations of the shoulder, sprained wrists, and ankles, I have had a gross misunderstanding of how the pain scale works. When a doctor asks you how much pain you're in on a scale of 1 to 10, and they're like, 1 being like, oh, it's nothing, and 10 being like, this is the most pain I've ever been in. Apparently, there's actual definitions per level that no one has ever explained to me before. I've always been going by my own. So even when I separated my shoulder, I'm pretty sure I said, it's a 6. Because, it hurt, but I was functioning. I made it to the infirmary, didn't I? Both times I did it. I've had 10 concussions, separated my shoulder twice, almost broke both my fingers, sprained all my wrists and ankles a lot, and maybe broke my ankle at one point in time, but didn't know it. Danger-prone Daphne, or just really klutzy. Who knows? It's a good thing I'm only 4'11", because like if I fell from greater heights, who knows? I didn't even list all the injuries for the record. I just like patted the knee I have that doesn't have cartilage in it. Like, right, yes. That was skiing though. But yeah, pain scale. I've always viewed it as, like, when they say the most pain you've ever been in, I'm like, well, I think that this could probably be a lot worse. Like, I always feel it could be a lot worse, so I always, like, cut the back half of the pain scale down. I just ignore it because I'm assuming that pain could always be worse. But so, looking at an actual pain scale, I actually saved it to my phone because the next time I get injured, I would like to be able to answer the pain scale question accurately for once to see what that's like. I mean, doctor's appointments have already gotten a little bit easier since I've been able to say, like, hello, I have white coat syndrome and autism. Because that does actually, both of those greatly affect intake appointments, especially. Usually they thank me about the white coat syndrome thing because, like, my blood pressure will skyrocket really quickly, and I've had to explain to people, no, I'm not having a stroke, I'm just trying to not have a panic attack because I'm here. Which isn't even the pain scale, that's me problem. But the pain scale. So the one I'm currently looking at, which makes the most sense to me, which I literally, it is saved on my phone for forever. And I'll put it up here, hopefully. That should be easy. Look at how clear this is. It's it makes so much sense. It always should have made this much sense, realistically, but I don't think I ever saw it laid out. They just ask the damn questions and assume that you know what they mean by pain scale. Because, like, when they ask what your pain, I guess I use my scale, because why wouldn't I? I don't have any additional information to, like, I just need qualifiers. And beyond the most pain you've ever been in versus none, because that's a huge range. And actually, this one has a 10 as being unable to move. I'm in bed and I can't move due to my pain. I need someone to take me to the emergency room to get help for my pain. Actually, the night I rolled my ankle, I could not put weight on it, and I really should have had someone take me to a doctor that night. This isn't the night that I thought I broke my ankle. That was a different night. That actually hurt less. After I rolled my ankle the last time, it was so much pain, and it was generally unmanageable all summer. Wait, then unmanageable is a thing on here. I'm in pain all the time. It keeps me from doing most activities. Yes, I was a 7 for most of that summer. Did not do a lot of high ropes adventuring. I stayed on the ground on said ankle doing like rules and harnessing people. Yeah. High ropes adventure guide with a sprained ankle, not a great position to be in. But that's okay. I survived. It was also like 8 years ago, so here we are. But yeah, so things like the pain scale, it's something we don't think about as you don't think about not being able to do something as benign as answering a question about where you are on a pain scale. If you're taking it as their literal pain questions, just so those words weren't even in the correct order. They weren't. That didn't make sense at all. It is hard to answer pain scale questions if you don't understand that there's an actual pain scale and not just your own perception of your own pain. I think is the bottom line there. We'll go with that because it's the truth. But yeah, literally. It is. I'm actually really frustrated still by the fact that they changed the definition of literal to also mean figurative. We need a word that just means literally. But people misused it so bad it changed the definition. I have some pretty strong feelings about that. Almost as strong as how much I love the Oxford comma, but that is a conversation for a different day. In the meantime, I'm going to stop rambling, I guess. I'm not quite sure what just happened here. I'm going to have to play back to see if any of this was usable, coherent, or made sense. Maybe, maybe not. We'll find out. I'll find out. Maybe you'll find out if you've made it this far. And if you have, thank you. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Wow, the sun just kind of really changed everything right there. But yeah, have a wonderful rest of your day. If you feel like you're missing part of the big picture, take a step back and really figure out how you got to where you are. You might have missed the obvious. I know I have face planted on the obvious once or twice, probably even today. And when all else fails, just, tuck and roll. And I do mean that literally if you're jumping off of something moving, because you want to just keep the momentum going. But why are we asking questions we don't want answers to? No one has ever been able to answer that question, let's be honest here.